Greetings. Today we will be discussing this notion of people at the center of our interventions. You know that the UN established the 2030 agenda, and its main slogan, global slogan, is leaving no one behind. So how do we make this possible in a world that is facing so many challenges, urgent challenges? We are facing COVID-19. We are facing the climate change, which is a big issue. We are facing war in some parts of the world, right? So it seems that this slogan might be quite impossible to achieve because people are being left behind more and more in certain cases or in many cases. So how do we still have this, this objective, this goal to leave no one behind? To me, is putting people at the center of your interventions, definitely. The little you do, your small projects in your community, every negotiation process that you start, you need to call everybody, basically. Call everybody because everybody matters. It doesn't mean you call every single person, but people that can represent their peers. They need to be at the round discussion tables because this is strategic, you know. Most of time we feel so discouraged because all of us we feel discouraged because we are working for development cooperation. We are working hard every day, but it seems that the world is going in another way from the way it should be going. How to deal with all this? How to deal with all this stress, because it's a global stress, a global crisis, right? Localizing the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, is one of the strategies. You know, the localization of it, localizing your agenda for your population, for your peers, for your partners, to see themselves as in your work plans, for example, that you design and implement. This is about it's about it. Another issue has to do with the modus operandi. We need to rethink our interventions because putting people at the center doesn't mean exactly making a lot of consultations. Instead of making consultations, because most of the time we all make our design our projects or programs, or small or big ones, 20 years program or an agenda that lasts like 50 years or even more, and we tend to give this document, this strategic document, to put it available for people to give their opinion. But it's another way when it comes to putting people at the center of our interventions. We need to call uh, people, we need to call the population, the grassroots communities from day zero. So if you come up with an idea, we need to consult with them from day zero because sustainable cooperation for development is about human rights, is about peace, is about development, right? So people, at the end of the day, we all want to deliver for people. We want to to observe the human rights. We want that people definitely be happy, be have access. We are here talking about access to services, access to human services, to humanitarian services, to social services, to civil services, cultural services, political services, etc., etc., about services, right? So it's strategic. It's strategic. How you put them at the center, they need to feel part of the process. And most of the time, they don't feel 100% part of the process. And this is strategic for all the development specialists. if you, it's true that it's a work that it's not that easy, it's not that evident most of the time, going to the field, and sometimes that it puts you at risk, different kinds of risks, right? But you need to do it. You need to do it because bringing the populations is something so strategic, because at the end of the day they feel part of it, and once they feel part of it they will be able to support the implementation because they will be the ones at the driving seat. That's the strategy. Another issue that I would like to discuss with you regarding the putting people at the center of our intervention, there is a common global agenda. The UN advocates to leave no one behind, and there are so many tools that they make available, not only the UN, but different, donors, multilateral donors, and even bilateral donors. They are open to this. Basically, they are open. But one needs to be as well strategic, creative, because the competition for funding is something that is, it's increasing more and more. It seems that the funds are reducing once the needs for seeking for funds it's rising, right? So how you organize yourself as to me it's so important that, for example, compare your action plans, organizations, find ways not only in international forums or global forums, but organize monthly forums, for example, and nowadays you have webinars. We see that webinars, they work pretty well, so you can more and more advocate for this. Well, it's important. Another issue has to do with access to internet. That is not easy for so many professionals or organizations around the world, because in many parts, for example, in developing countries, internet it's not something for free. People need to pay for it. So again, this must be something that you should negotiate with your partners, negotiate with your donors, and negotiating with states or even private, organizations that work on communication. Another issue has to do with, as I was mentioning, the dialogue between organizations. If you have the common goals, don't feel afraid. Don't be afraid of working together. The together as one is a developing strategic notion. Delivering as one. Even the United Nations, due to the lessons learned on the MDGs, on the Millennium Development Goals, they are delivering as one more and more. So I invite the organizations, meaning the NGOs, non-for-profit, or even CBOs, civil society, civic-based organizations, to work together. Find ways that you can work together. Of course, you observe your mandates, because it's a matter of standing up and tell people that you are there. Of course, you observe your mandates, but as well, don't feel that much pressured about the protagonism. You can work together, because it's a strategy for you to mobilize more funding. Another issue that is very important, why you put people at the center of the interventions? Because it's about their human rights. We are all working for global peace, even it's not it's not being possible, but we still work for that. We still struggle for peace, definitely. We still struggle for human rights observance. So changing the narrative here, as I was mentioning in the other class, it's so important because at the end of the day, you want people to be happy, because you are people, right? We are all human beings, so we need to find ways to creatively be happy in this world that is becoming so complex. one of the ways is to everything that you want to implement, you want to design, you want to implement, think about the human being, think about the humankind. We are here for a reason. Sustainable cooperation doesn't need to be so hard, or doesn't need to be so far from the population, because most of the time they have this feeling. During my career, I had the preoccupation of going to communities, because I'm a social assistant as well. So have to break this the bias, because the bias is becoming bigger. So we need to find ways to really break the bias, and bridging, for example, the urban, here the urbanization, the urban divide. It seems that the world is becoming so divided, so we need to find ways, and through forums, through webinars, through dialoguing, through peer-to-peer education, we need to convince donors that it's of utmost importance to invest on peer-to-peer education. Youth are there. I was participating in a global seminar a few weeks ago, where a young lady mentioned that youth, they need to be seen as a strategic development partner. And this is a very strong message that I would like to replicate here during this dialogue. Youth and specific groups, they are partners, they are development partners, meaning that they have their own solution for their problems. So instead of us being so concerned about bringing the solutions, we need to sit down at the same level with the populations and hear about the solutions they have. Because once they have the solutions, it will be more easy for all of you to organize together and implement it. This is Janice Da Silva, your Talk to Expert.